Let me set myself up here. And so what am I talking about? I'm talking about the role of humans in the technological future, collective technological future. Now, this talk is something that I've been thinking about for quite a long time, but I have not necessarily prepared in a sort of pre-written way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a certain framework as a sort of guiding star or guiding framework for me to talk about what I see humans will be doing. And I apologize a little bit to anyone who is listening to this because I've got a little bit of hay fever, so I'm sniffling, and probably my voice is a little bit not as great as usual. So I'm going to use this framework here, which is a combination of spiral dynamics and multiple intelligences, two pieces of psychological work that are foundational to what I think and see as the frame of human mind in general. And to just quickly describe what these frameworks are, is that spiral dynamics talks about 8 levels of human self-awareness, sometimes also talked about as consciousness, but really let's talk about awareness, us being aware who we are. And those levels are instinctive, magical, power, rule, rational, sensitive, integral, and holistic. They oscillate between individual and collective. So the instinctive is I, magical is we, power is I, rule is we, rational is I, rule, sensitive is we, and then integral and holistic. The people who have levels of awareness on integral and beyond are known as tier 2 humans, according to Claire W. Graves, one of the writers of the original spiral dynamics model. And Claire Graves spoke about tier 2 humans being ones who are transcending or who have transcended all fears. They literally no longer experience fear per se, as majority of levels 1 to 6 or stage 1 to 6 humans are like. These are fear-driven people here from 1 to 6, and these are aspiration-driven people. So that's one of the elements to this. The other element is that we all have multiple cognitive faculties, which are mapped here too. Here we've got 18 of them, but there's potentially more to consider. So one of the cognitive faculties is physical intelligence. These are referred to as intelligences: emotional intelligence, spiritual, academic, introspective, existential, natural, romantic, financial, musical, linguistic, logical, technological, social, spatial, creative, visual, and conscious. So all these intelligences have got their own particular role that they play in our perception of reality and our computation, dare I say, of reality. Excuse me, let me wipe my nose a little bit. So what happens then is that people have different levels of competency in each one of these cognitive faculties. So for example, I may be academically quite high up here somewhere, and I might be, for example, musically somewhere here, and I might be socially somewhere because, let's say, my social abilities are not as great, and so on. My creative, however, may be quite high all the way up there, potentially. And so what has also been happening with technology, which is an emergent capability of humanity on the whole, is that technology itself, and we have humans, as humans, we have technological intelligence. Technology itself has been developing level of its own self-awareness, and that's why we're nowadays talking about smart things, smart pen, smart meter, smart all sorts of things. So technology itself has becoming smart, and it's outdoing us in a number of these cognitive faculties that we have, or intelligences, and it's certainly catching up with us in that. So you might find that a financial trading algorithm is better at trading than a broker who's been working in the city for a number of years. Similarly, a computer may be better at academically working something out or referencing an academic paper than a human is able to already. And so what we're finding is that the technology is upping its game, so to speak, in these different intelligences and different cognitive faculties. And us as humans are having to up our game in terms of how we are doing, perceiving, capable of cognizing and recognizing. So the process of shifting yourself from one level to another level of self-awareness is known as self-actualization. And when we go through each one of these lines of intelligence, we start to realize and recognize and observe that some of them are harder to technologize than others. So, for example, emotional intelligence is a little bit trickier for machines to work with than is logical. Machines are very good at logical cognizing, and they are likely to be going very high up in their own self-actualization in future, to the point where they will outdo human ability to logicalize, if that's even a word. So this is why we see computers like DeepMind outplaying humans, the best humans in games like Go. And many people perhaps have kind of made games, certainly playing games, a little bit boring, because humans realize that they have no chance in winning at all in things like chess, Go, etc., and many other games. But those games are, of course, limited universes with very strict and set rules on how the game is supposed to be played and what's allowed and what's not allowed. So we find that computers are very good at logicaling, if that's a word, or working out logically how to win a particular game of set hardcore rules, but they don't necessarily know how to logically deduct or derive or work through a lot looser areas of the world, or in a kind of freer universes where rules are much softer. So what we're going to experience most likely in the future is that humans will play more and more of a role in what might be classed as softer lines of intelligences. So things like, if I go from left to right, we might find that physically speaking, we are given things like exoskeletons or various kind of technological aids to enable us to physically do stuff that previously we could not even imagine to be able to do. This is already the case with people who are having any sort of might have had an amputated leg and they have a fake leg or add-on to swap that around. So our physical capabilities will be most likely technologically induced and improved over time. So technology will certainly help us improve there, but it also might outdo us. Either way, I think technology is going to play a symbiotic role in human experience, life experience, as it's always done. And that's the only way that technology will really be able to survive in itself, because if it's using humans, as like Elon Musk describes, humans are biological bootloader for technology, it means that technology will depend on human biology to evolve into next levels of itself, self actualize itself. But some of these faculties, like emotional, are likely to become more and more actual and prominent and relevant. Spiritual, certainly. Academic, maybe less so. That's why we're experiencing more and more companies uh, actually not requiring humans to be so academically qualified to do the roles and jobs that they are required to do. So companies like Google, Facebook, and so on have cut off the need for employees to have academic qualifications. Introspective is one about being able to actually understand who you are and who you want to become, and really understand how you can self-correct your own psychology through self-observation internally on a psychological level and even spiritual and emotional level. Existential is about our needs for existing in a fulfilling and self-actualized way, and our understanding where we fit. So we might be existentially moving, or likely will be moving, towards higher and higher aspirations in life, as our lower aspirations and needs are more and more automated and fulfilled by technology, society, system, and so on. Our ability to connect with nature probably will need to rise up a lot higher, and we will find ourselves wanting to be in nature a lot more and not be kind of slaves to technology, as we often the time are now. Even in this particular Zoom call, many of you who are listening to this right now or in future will be suffering from some sort of Zoom fatigue, because we can't see each other face to face. Financial will likely be completely automated, and that's the drive for that is very, very strong. So our financial well-being is likely to be technologically enhanced a lot. And then creativity will actually play a big part in us enabling to generate bigger financial wealth. Musical is already being automated a lot by technology. So any background music is already it's possible to create background music and generic music with AI, but more advanced types of music and music that function for the roles of human self-actualization will likely become those types of music that humans produce more and more. So you'll hear less and less derogatory music, but more and more music that is actually constructing humans to be better versions of themselves. Linguistic, we may actually experience ourselves starting to communicate a lot more in visual ways and in higher order languages that that we may discover, design, and describe. So because words are quite limited, we might be communicating even in some form of telepathy, whether that is technologically induced or psychologically realized. I know this is perhaps a little bit of a wild claim, but this is where my research seems to be pointing to. Our ability to work out logically what is right and wrong and actually deduce and work through problems will be greatly enhanced with combination of technology, but we'll certainly need to be a lot better at logical deduction. Our ability to work with technology will have to be better. And many people, for example, in recent days have been forced to use Zoom and work with Zoom because they haven't had any other options to communicate with others. So companies like Zoom have experienced massive growth, but our own inner technology, as in our abilities to work through ourselves, introspect, and our psychology will become an integral part of technology itself. And how that works is still a bit of mystery to me, as in how those interfaces will work. But in some senses, they already are, because even by me speaking to you through this video, there is an element of psychological inclusion there, and technological inclusion of human psychology. So, but we will need to be able to utilize and know how to utilize technology for our own self-development, actualization, and increased quality and experience of life. Socially, I feel that humans are going to want to go back to connecting in as high quality way as possible, including, which will include physical, emotional, spiritual, academic, introspective, all these ones. And so social experiences in future, I foresee them being absolutely fantastic, really fantastic. And humans will probably want to be a lot more social than they are today. And that social meaning in a lot more integral, comprehensive, and deep and meaningful way. Spatial intelligence, I'll skip this one because I think we're already able to orient ourselves quite well with aid of technology, with maps and all sorts of tools. We will maybe start thinking and exploring how we can explore the space of space, universe, the rest of the universe. Our creative intelligence will have to go up a lot more, and our creativity will have to be a lot more systemic. So the future humans will be systemically creative and be able to design and come up with solutions that are a lot more circular in nature and connected with ecosystems and designed for ecosystem evolution, so that we don't ruin our planet and our physical spaces that are increasingly being polluted by bad design. Our visual intelligence is already being enhanced by lots of different technological aids, microscopes, telescopes, glasses. Apple is introducing glass product most likely in the next iteration, which will help us visualize things better. But with virtual reality and things like that, our ability to see is going to have to go up, and our ability to see those things also that are a little bit blocked by our beliefs, because beliefs prevent us from seeing something. We just kind of deny the fact that it's there. Our ability to drop the beliefs and see what really is there is going to have to increase. And then conscious, this one is really quite a meta cognition, which is really about understanding the meta nature of holonomic universe, that one thing lives inside another, which lives inside another, and they transcend and include, and that our consciousness and our self-awareness of ourselves is the amplifying and catalyzing factor that enables all of these other intelligences to actually be able to further develop themselves and to evolve and self-actualize over time. I think that sets out a little bit of an outline where I see the role of humans in the future of technological collective environment. And I welcome now any questions that you might have. Please, ask them now or forever hold your peace.
Hey Jason, thanks
Hi,
a lot for sharing.
thank you.
I have a question regarding the applicability of this model. Where do you actually use this in your work or in your daily life? How do you use it, basically?
Yeah, so I actually coach people through a program called Fresh Mind, which is using this model to help my clients to actually up their cognitive capability from whatever level they're at. Because each client can be, for example, they might be financially here and they're looking to shift up to the next one or next one. They might be linguistically here, but they'll be looking to shift up to there and so on. So I look
Ah,
so I basically coach people to clear up the kind of any stuckness that they might have across this whole framework, but also to rise up to the next level of their cognitive performance. And this is the model that's used for that, and also helps me actually to think through like where everybody else is. So you might have found in the past that, for example, somebody that you are working with, they're really good financially. For example, they could be financially all the way up there, but their emotional strengths are not that great. They're emotionally kind of quite weak. Or they might be socially awkward, but logically a genius, right? So this is kind of constant, a healthy and typical kind of way for humans to be. Nobody is kind of 8 out of 8 on every one of these intelligences, and that's also partly what makes us unique.
so you would, at the beginning of your coaching process, you would assess with them where they stand. How do you do this assessment?
Yeah, so it's literally there is a fresh mind assessment at the beginning where each person is asked to score themselves
Oh,
subjectively in each
before.
intelligence, both in their capabilities and their impurities. So I might be, for example, let's say take financial. I might be financially very good at like earning lots of money and building a business and things like that. But I also might be very good at wasting money, spending it on things I don't need, and being kind of addicted to all sorts of buying things that I don't need and so on. So both capabilities and impurities can be quite high. And what people ought to do is to clear the impurities, clear the stuckness and blocks, mental blocks, to actually then release their full potential to actually then utilize that capability for the good. So that's how it works, and it works quite magically because people, as people drop the beliefs and stuckness, they find it quite unbelievable that they've reached the next level, which is quite, quite transformational. It's very transformational, in fact.
And how do you see the difference between, or the relationship between, a value and a belief system?
uh, That's an interesting one. Uh, Belief in pure sense of the word belief is like more like an assumption. Like I might believe that there is that there are aliens in the universe,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Okay, so so value is more like saying I value uh, money, or I value human relationships, and there are probably values across each one of these intelligences, right? To say, well, emotionally, I value love, peace, happiness, enjoyment, you know, more than I value uh, anger, sadness, uh, disgust, and all those kind of things. Okay, so uh, values and beliefs in my world are very two different things, two very distinct things, and people certainly chase their values and are looking to realize their values, both what they think of themselves as valuable as well as what they value outside of themselves. But what they believe is possible or not possible, or how things work, are just basically so usually social, but certainly psychological programming that they picked up through various narratives that are usually not true.
Okay.
So that's really that. I think I'm coming up to the end of my time here, but if you do have other questions or want to keep in touch, I'll just drop my website in the comments as well, so you can connect. You're more than welcome to connect and continue the conversation there. All the other social media is linked in from there. So if you want to connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, it's jasongrant.in, and you're welcome to reach out to me and speak to me more about this and discover more. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
All the best. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.